If you don't know what a plan on a page is, or if you don't know how to create a template for one, this is the video for you. I'm going to explain what a plan on a page is, why you'll need one, and I'll give a demonstration on how to create a really easy to use template. As usual, there are timestamps in the description, so if you want to jump ahead, that's fine. So let's get started. A plan on a page is a very concise, graphical version of your project plan. It'll typically illustrate the key milestones and tasks in your plan. Some versions might include dependencies and project stages, and some plans will use traffic light colors to illustrate whether the plan's on track or if the tasks are beginning to fall behind schedule. There's no single right way to create a plan on a page, so if you're ever asked to create one, it's worth checking if there's an existing template that's already in use in your organization that everybody's already happy with, and then you can just work from that. But if not, don't worry, I'll show you how to make one, and don't worry, it really won't take very long. Something to keep in mind is the intended audience. Who has asked for this? Or who are you intending on sharing this information with? Plan on a page shares the headline information from your project plan, the key tasks and milestones, without all of the noise created by the entire plan. So this makes the plan on a page really helpful to people who need to see at a glance when key events are going to happen in the project. So it's a really helpful communication tool for dealing with decision makers on your project and with stakeholders. Generally speaking, I most commonly find myself dealing with the plan on a page when content's being prepared for steering committees. A plan on a page is often expected to be included in a steerco meeting pack as a visual representation of progress that can be seen and scrutinized without overloading the attendees with too much information. Also, there are stakeholders and stakeholder groups that may be interested in seeing when the big milestones will be accomplished in your plan, especially if there are phased releases or benefits that are being realized along the way. A plan on a page can easily be added to any communication packs that are prepared for these audiences, though what you may present in it may differ from one that goes to a steerco, as this audience may not be interested in, say, project governance activities and controls. They'll be more interested in when changes take place, the opportunities to engage and shape the change, and when benefits are going to be realized. So keep in mind who the audience is and make the content relevant to them. Unless explicitly asked for, none of these audiences are going to want to be presented with a fully detailed plan. It's just too much information. But here's a pro tip. Always find a way for your detailed plan to accompany the plan on a page, especially when you're sharing it with steercos. This could just be a hyperlink at the bottom of the page that leads to the detailed plan. What it does is it illustrates that you're open and transparent, but also means that the detailed plan is close to hand if the audience starts applying more scrutiny than expected and you need to provide some extra details quickly. Okay, so the most obvious attribute of the plan on a page, yet one that sometimes gets overlooked, is that the plan fits onto a single page. To achieve this, you need to be very selective about the information you share. Don't use this as an opportunity to show how busy you've been. Don't try to cram this plan full of content. Before getting started, consider what information you want to show in the plan. You should focus on including the most important tasks and milestones that you need to share. Make a list of these important tasks and milestones with their start date and end date before you get started. Having that list is going to make the final part of this activity so much faster. One thing you need to consider as you get started is the time range. Are you showing the entire length of the project from start to end? Or is the audience only interested in the upcoming events, so you don't have to include anything from the past other than maybe the last key milestone? So let's get started on making the template for your plan on a page. I'm using Microsoft PowerPoint. Most commonly I see plan on pages being used in steerco packs and presentation packs that have been made in PowerPoint, so it makes sense for me to build the plan in this tool. That said, once it's built in there, you can screen grab it, you can copy and paste it, you're not stuck with having to use PowerPoint. Anyway, this is a work along session, so you can fire up your PowerPoint and work along with me, but if you're in a big hurry or you just aren't confident with using PowerPoint, feel free to download my template. The link's in the description, but I urge you to continue watching the video to understand how to use it and pick up on a few more tips. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing on my template, as usual, is sticking my branding on. And I do that because the colors that are in branding tends to inform the colors that I use later on in the page. Now I'm popping a title across the top of the page, making the title large and visible. Okay, now I'm going to insert a table. I'm deliberately putting more rows in here than you may choose to. I'm breaking this project up into multiple stages, and for that purpose I'm creating additional swim lanes. That's why there's so many rows on here. Don't feel compelled to do that. You can just put one big swim lane on there that all of this content's going to go into, or you can consider just breaking it up into whatever stages are used in your governance path. Now I'm just going to insert a few additional columns. Each column's going to represent a month, and I'm saving the top row to show years. Okay, I'm going to merge these cells to be 1 year. And then I'll merge the remaining cells to be the next year. Okay, I'm highlighting the cells here. I'm going to make some stylistic changes to the fonts in terms of how they're justified and make them bold. Now I'm going to color the header rows, and I'm going to use the eyedropper here to pick a color from my logo and make all the colors consistent on here. Now applying that same style to the column that's going to show the stages. Okay, I'm going to go up to layout here, and I'm just going to stretch the size of the table a little bit and make that fit the page a little bit better. And now I'm going to stretch the size of this column. Okay, now I'm adding the stage names to the column. As I say, use whatever stages are used in your organization, or don't use any stages at all. I'm stretching the size of some of these rows here because I know some of these stages are busier than others. So planning is going to have more activities in there than initiate. Design, build, test are all likely to have more tasks in there. So they need a little bit more space. As I said earlier, you don't have to use all of this information. You don't have to show the whole lifespan of the project. If your project's already up and running, people probably don't care when it was initiated, so feel free to leave sections like that out of your plan. Don't forget, you've got to show the most relevant, most important information to your audience. Okay, I'm going to insert some rectangles on here, and these are going to represent the tasks on the plan on a page. Stylistically, I prefer to get rid of the outlines. And I'm just going to drop this down here at the bottom of the page. I'm just going to insert some text in there as well, and I'm going to size that so that it fits nicely. Okay, I'm going to make a few copies here. So I've made copies of red, amber, green, and a blue taskbar here. I'm just going to do a little bit of resizing here to make sure that the content is visible and it looks good. I'm leaving these at the bottom because eventually they will become a key for people when they're trying to interpret the plan. But for right now, they're more useful to me as just somewhere to go and pick up consistent colors, consistent shaped tasks. As I said to you earlier, this will go a lot quicker if you've got a list of tasks and milestones that you want to insert into your plan. I don't have that list, I'm just putting random items on here called task 1, task 2, task 3. But if you've got a list of tasks and milestones, you should be able to interpret that quite easily and get that into this plan. Okay, I've got a few tasks on here now, but I'm going to go back up to the shapes here and put a diamond on the page, which we'll use as an indicator of a milestone. Again, that can be copied and pasted and dragged around the page. Unfortunately, the diamond shape isn't really the kind of size you can put text into, so I'm adding a separate text box next to it to indicate the title of what that milestone is. Doing a little bit of resizing here. Okay, I'm going to shapes here, and I'm going to put a line on here to show the current date. I'm not actually creating this in September 2022. I've just randomly selected a part of the plan to insert that line. But I'm going to be consistent with my own logic. Everything that's happened before that line should be complete, or it should be red. It shouldn't be green or amber. The reason being is if it's a task that's in the past, it either is completed or it's late. It can't really be anything else, can it? You may want to insert from shapes the arrow shape to use to indicate dependencies between tasks. Personally, I prefer not to do this in plans on pages. I just don't think it's the level of detail that's needed for this kind of presentation, but feel free to do so. You may find that you need to group a number of individual tasks from your detailed plan to create a single task, as the audience is unlikely to be interested in all the small tasks needed to deliver a useful output. For example, your detailed project plan may list the many steps in creating a training guide. Things like identifying procedures, writing them into the guide, getting the guide reviewed, getting the guide published, when your audience is probably just going to be happy to see a single task saying create and publish user guides and seeing when it starts and when it ends. As I've said in previous videos, if there's a key message that you need the audience to pick up from the plan, don't just assume they'll get it. Include text boxes to call out key points, such as testing is showing as amber because more defects have been found than expected, which may impact the go live date. Okay, so now that we've got a few tasks on here, you'll see that as a result of dragging and stretching these tasks around on the plan, that they're all sorts of funny shapes, they're not consistent anymore. So I'm going to show you how to select these tasks, and as a group of them, we'll reset the height of them so they're all the same as each other. Holding the Shift key, select all of the taskbars, go to Shape Format, and go across to Height, and just enter, in this case, 0.5 centimeters, and you'll see they've all become a uniform height. Change that to whatever size works best for you. Now it's really just a case of tidying up and just making sure that the tasks are all in the right places, that they seem like they're relatively nicely spaced out. As I said, I don't like to cram these plans full of content. I like them to be attractive so that you can enjoy looking at them and interpret them easily. If you put so much information in here that people are scratching their heads and they don't understand what they're looking at, you really have failed to communicate your point. Sometimes you'll have an important task that doesn't take a whole lot of time, and the consequence of that is you can't fit its title inside of the taskbar. What I've seen happen on more than one occasion is people have just pushed lots of text in there and it's done a word wrap and it's stretched the task either in its height or in its width, and it looks either misleading or it looks ugly. I'm just copying the text box from the milestone, and you can just enter some text into that and have that sit above the task or somewhere near to it so it makes sense that's what it belongs to. And that will look a lot better than trying to stuff everything into one taskbar. As I said, I'm making this template freely available to everybody. There is a link in the description that you can just go and follow, and you can download my copy. Okay, I'm putting some more meaningful titles now into the key so that you can tell what each of these colors means. Okay, there you have it, a basic plan on a page template. Feel free to do with it as you please. Okay, now you've got the template for your plan on a page, all you have to do is copy across the tasks and milestones that you want to include. It's great that you now have a plan on a page. Too many project managers struggle because they just don't feel able to pull a plan together for various reasons. And I tried to address that concern in a video that I made recently called Make the Plan You Can. You should really go and check that out next. If this video has been helpful though, please give it a like. And if you want to see more project management content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.